Good morning, my lovelies. How is everybody today? It's Monday morning. I'm really going to enjoy doing daily devotions down here by the outside window. The birds have been so beautiful today. Oh, traffic hasn't been too bad. There's a big tree hedge thing back here that is blooming, and I've got green grass coming up, and oh my goodness, it's just beautiful. And I just love being able to, I do miss not having an east facing window where I can watch the sun come up, but I do enjoy watching the sun slowly come up where the sun comes down on the houses back here, and I can see the weather coming in from the west, so it's still beautiful. So Celtic Devotional today, it's Monday. From the breast of beauty, out of the lap of peace, I rise up refreshed. I kindle my soul at the forge of the soulsmith. Spark of life, spark of love, spark of light. Companion my quest this day till I come home at twilight. Companion of my soul, friend of my heart, in the secret place of my heart I come to you. May I forget the closeness, may I never forget the closeness of your presence. The melody of summer drenches the land in its sweetness. I call upon my soul teacher to help me find the descant to the question of this day. As I start my week of work, I dedicate my work to the work of my hands. May the craft and mastery of my daily work enhance the great weaving of the universe. Liberator of souls, assist and release all who are imprisoned in spirals of violent abuse, both those who perpetrate abuse and those who receive it. May the shackles of anger and resentment be transformed into the loving bonds of peace and understanding. May the beauty of each soul blossom as the Spirit awakens all life this summer morning. Love that. So today's card is Portal of Light. She glides on wings through time and space. It is only this physical reality that is bound by time and space. You are being conscious on levels beyond the physical world. You are guided to work with your healing powers beyond the confines of time and space and to allow your sense of self to expand. It is safe for you to do this now. You will not become ungrounded through such spiritual growth. You are not leaving your earthly awareness. You are instead adding to it. You are growing in power and awareness. You have had a breakthrough and insight where you realize that you are not only who you thought you are in fact a vaster being. Sometimes it's shocking and uncomfortable. Other times it's gentle and makes sense. You are learning to integrate this awareness into your vast self. The practical consequence is so extraordinary to live with less and less fear of its insecurity, to become more detached and passionate, more loving and less demanding. You are also becoming capable of exerting healing influence beyond time and space. This means being able to free yourself and others if you choose to share yourself. I think that So Isis guides you to powers and abilities to heal that which is beyond time and space. It starts with the realization that what has happened in the past has power over you only to the extent that you allow it. The portal of light is being opened to you to travel through time and space, to release the past, to open up a future bright, and to call for more power in the present moment. Once you've done this for yourself, you're guided to a healing path, and you can share this with others. So the portal incantation is, in this light beyond time and space, I enter the portal of divine light and grace. I am freed from shackles in this life, and that I release all that would hold me back. I now choose to be free of the past. In the present light of spirit, I now bask. In the portal of light beyond all time, love and light frees me into peace sublime. I think the kicker with this, I think I've had a theme the last couple cards, I'm thinking about it, about time and space and who you really are as a spiritual being. Every major religion believes that you're a spiritual entity living in a human manifestation. Every single one. Okay, so we're going to chuck religion out the window. We're just going to look at the spiritual aspect of that, right? So if you're a spiritual entity and you're living in a physical, fleshy body, right? And you can accept that your spiritual self is bigger and vaster than your physical manifestation. Of course, there's a lot of you that needs to integrate over time. So we take that spiritual knowledge and we look at our physical manifestation, how we grow in life. Like as children, if you watch them, they're so connected to their spiritual higher self. The body's really new and bodies are uncomfortable. Think about it. One of my sons was never quite comfortable with bowel movements for the first 6 months. And so he cried. He was like, this is uncomfortable. This is awful. Another one of my sons was very easy to potty train because he didn't like the feeling of any kind of excrement up against his skin. Because the human body's kind of disgusting and awful, and you have all of these gurgly things, and your tummy may hurt, and things you eat might not agree with you, and then there's the lights and the sounds and people touching you, and fabric is not always soft and comfortable, and then really loud sounds and the sound of cars. We've gotten used to it, but there's a humming that goes with that. And one of my sons, till he was like almost a year old, almost 2 years old, never liked long car rides. He didn't like it. He didn't like the sound of the car, which I totally understand. They're loud and they're big and they're kind of scary and they're very fast. So children have an adjustment into the human body. And then once they kind of get adjusted and they're here, that brain is growing and growing and growing. And then there's a shift when they're about 5, 6, 7 years old. It kind of depends on the kiddo. And that shift is taking all that information and now they're trying to use it. They're trying to integrate that into who they are as a spiritual being inside the growth of that physical body. And then we turn everything topsy-turvy and we add hormones to the thing for teenage growth and being in the place where they can procreate and create new life. And that doesn't settle down. Your brain doesn't settle down to your 25, 26, 27 years old. And then you're expected to just kind of have figured it out way before then, which I think is completely unrealistic. And then you have this time where most people are living the grind and raising kids and doing the thing and building a career and living up to these really, really unrealistic patriarchal colonial expectations of what life should look like, square box life. And then women go through menopause, perimenopause and menopause, and the brain shifts again. And men go through a type of menopause. There's a hormone shift there too. And the brain shifts again and the body shifts again. And then you have the other side of the hormone window. And that's where it's really critical that you're active and you're doing things, because the brain that was so busy before, we think of in our patriarchal Western society, you go into retirement, you don't use your brain, and people sit and they don't do a lot of things often. Sometimes they do, it kind of depends, but if you don't stretch that mind to become part of community and do activities, your brain has a tendency to, there's calcification that happens and dementia could kick in, and then you have other health issues. Women should be weightlifting and doing things that build muscle tone so that they don't get osteoporosis. Men can get osteoporosis too, but they've proven that like weightlifting and getting exercise and doing things as you get older is really important for your brain health and your muscle your muscles and keeping you from being in a nursing home. Anyway, there's a growth. There's birth and living and life and this huge window, and then there's a slowing down. But that slowing down we think of as like in your 60s. That slowing down shouldn't be until your 90s. And maybe you don't slow down. Maybe your slowing down is the day before you pass. But there's this expectation. This is what I'm getting at. There's this expectation that the spirit is this thing and the body is this thing, but they are integrated. So even as a child, you're integrating all this real world stuff. And I, at a very young age, realized that there needed to be integration of who I really am and the physical stuff. Both of those things matter to me. And I have striven all of my life to integrate past life, spiritual awareness, gifts, all of those spiritual things in with my day-to-day physical life. And sometimes I created a hard line where you would never have known that I was a hardcore spiritually psychic person unless you asked me, because I kept them very separate. I can pretend to live in a patriarchal world and I can mask like the best of them. But people always knew, like, I'm not neurotypical. So there's always been the neurotypical awareness that there's something different about me, even if I never admitted it or they couldn't put their finger on it. But if you ask me, I would always say I've never been inauthentic about it. But I would shy away and I would skirt around discussing, and I don't have to do that anymore, but I did feel like I had to do it for many years. And that can cause a little bit of mental health trauma, which then settles in the body. So I had to work through that. Portal of light is our physical reality is bound to what we think of as our timeline, right? But our spiritual reality is not bound by that. We are connected into a blueprint, which is a big loopity-loop of time. And our blueprint is anchored in through the layers of what we've anchored in into our physical reality, our body, Mother Earth herself, her consciousness. But our spiritual selves are multidimensional and very large and connected to a lot of other things. And sometimes they're entities who live two lives at the same time. That can be really confusing sometimes to this current physical reality. Some souls do that all the time. Other souls don't. Some of it depends on the karmic loop you're caught in, if you're caught in one. Some souls, as part of a soul group, are very connected and in time and place together. And so they do a lot of integration together. Other soul groups aren't. They're far apart, spread across the universe in time and space. These are all aspects of the spiritual side of what makes our reality what it is. And when you have something that you're really passionate about, say you are really passionate about Egyptian history, and you love learning about the gods and the goddesses, maybe you've gone to the extreme of learning how to read hieroglyphics, or you have a passion about the pyramids and ancient ruins of Egypt, or the temple, or the language, or maybe even the socio-archaeological stuff about how Egypt's culture is today and what it's based on from thousands of years of Egyptian culture. Those are all beautiful things that you're integrating. You've learned about those things. They're your passion project. They're parts of maybe you in time and space that you lived in that time, and you want to familiarize yourself with those pieces of history because it feels good. It feels like home. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Bring that knowledge forward. Bring it into your day-to-day. Share it with people. History and how you connect in with history can be very valuable. I have absolutely no interest in the American Civil War, not even a little bit. I know that I didn't live in a time period. I was not alive during that time period. in a human body, I was off doing something else. I don't know what I was doing, but I have absolutely no interest in the American Civil War. Not only do I have no interest in it, but I don't like hearing about it. It's boring. I move on to other things. I can totally tell the pieces of history and time that I don't have interest in because I wasn't in a human body. I was doing something else. And I can feel it. I can feel it and I can resonate with it. If you had a past life where you lived in the Civil War era and you have a fascination with that and you're obsessed with knowing about it, go ahead. I don't. I have no trauma surrounding it. I have genetic DNA trauma in my family from that. I can feel that, but I can't connect with that time in history. Not even a little bit. No interest at all. I was off doing something else. I have no idea what I was doing. Well, I do have an idea what I was doing, but I wasn't here. And I have been able to come to a place of peace with that. For a little while, I felt a little guilty. Like, I love history, so I should be interested in all history, right? Not necessarily. I know a lot about a lot of things about history, and also know that I didn't live in that time period. Not in a human body. And not here on Earth. I was somewhere else in what we consider a linear timeline. And I'm okay with that. I've studied a lot about a lot of different kinds of history. I know when the Civil War happened. I know some of the big pieces of history. I know some of the stuff that has happened because I've also had past life sessions with clients where I've had to describe stuff that happened during that time. And their guides have been very patient to educate me. And then, of course, curiosity is that I go and look it up because now I'm curious. But I don't do deep dives. I don't do deep dives in all pieces of history around the world. I find it all fascinating, mostly because I've had readings or I've had past life work with clients where it then became something interesting because it was interesting to them. Not because I have any interest in that whatsoever. But we're always integrating who we are as a multidimensional being. If you have an absolute fascination about the Pleiades and the stars and astrology and astronomy and how the stars work and space and how we travel in space and science and quantum physics and brain chemistry, study it. Study it, learn about it. Follow your passion. Integrate that into who you are as a spiritual entity. Not everybody's a healer. And that's okay. Sometimes we're learners and we're learning to share our passion with others because someone else may come along that needs that information. And that could be the important piece. The important piece above all of this is that we're part of a community. And the more we can build that community of people who are connected into all of who they are as dimensional beings, that brings Earth and the community of people on Earth out of this dark time and out of this place where we're destroying each other and we're destroying our environment and we're destroying Mother Earth herself. That's the big thing. We have to come together as a community and not be so isolating and judgy and heal the hurts. And those that don't want to heal the hurts, that's fine. They can walk their own path. But those of us that need to heal the hurts of ourselves and be there for each other, we need to support each other in that journey. So that's what I get out of Portal of Light. Breaking through the insights where you realize that you are not who you thought you were. You are, in fact, a much vaster being. Take that with you today, my blessed friends, and I will see you in prayer. Blessed be.